This will be a quick video in response to a number of persons who've either made comments or messaged me regarding a particular historical falsehood. That is that Henry VIII set up the Anglican Church just so he could get divorced. This falsehood is very prevalent among non-Anglicans, especially Roman Catholics and conservative evangelical Protestants. Now, this falsehood has three parts I want to cover. First is that King Henry VIII of England set up his own church in order to divorce his wife, Catherine of Aragon. This is untrue, as Henry was attempting to annul his marriage and say it had never existed in the first place. The historical evidence points to the fact that Henry truly felt his marriage had been cursed, and the lack of a male heir was a sign that God had not favored the union between himself and the widow of his elder brother. He finally achieved the annulment by removing the Church of England from papal authority. One simple fact is that this issue, the King's Great Matter, wasn't something that happened over a few months, but was something that happened over the course of several years. Truthfully, it would have been much easier for Henry to simply had Catherine killed so that he would have been free to marry Anne Boleyn. While Henry was eventually married 6 times, all but 2 of those marriages were eventually annulled by the Church of England. His marriages to Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard were annulled before they were executed, and his marriage to Anne of Cleves was never consummated. The second part is that Henry VIII was himself an Anglican, which is also highly false. Why? Because Anglicanism never really came into being until after Henry's death. While Henry certainly separated the Church of England from papal authority, he was, very much in his personal beliefs, still a Roman Catholic, just without papal authority, much the same way as old Catholics are today. The final part of this falsehood is regarding Anglicans and divorce. Historically, in Roman Catholic kingdoms, it was possible for royalty and nobility to obtain an annulment of their marriage from the Pope. However, to do so was at great expense. This allowed these persons to remarry. However, this wasn't a possibility for Anglicans until the 20th century. While civil law eventually did allow divorces, the Church of England would not remarry divorced persons while their divorced spouse was still alive. Provisions to annul marriages weren't available if the couple had consummated their union. Thus, it was harder for Anglicans to remarry than Roman Catholics. I'm going to give you some examples that have actually interfered with members of the British royal family, who are themselves Anglican. King George IV, who so deeply despised his wife, Catherine of Brunswick, that he had her barred from his coronation and her name excluded from prayers used by the Church of England, was never able to obtain a civil divorce through the courts or through Parliament, nor by using his office as Supreme Governor of the Church. In 1936, the newly ascended King Edward VIII intended to marry the American divorcee Wallis Simpson. However, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Cosmo Lang, was so opposed to the thought of the king being married to a divorcee that he set in motion the chain of events which led to Edward's abdication later that year. In 1992, Princess Anne, the daughter of Queen Elizabeth, got remarried after finally divorcing her first husband, Mark Phillips, whom had been adulterous. However, she married at Crathay Kirk, a parish church in the Church of Scotland, which allows the remarriage of divorced persons with ease. In 2005, Prince Charles, the heir to the throne, himself remarried. Now, his ex-wife Diana, the Princess of Wales, had been deceased since 1997, thus leaving him canonically a widower in the eyes of the Church. However, his new wife Camilla was also a divorcee, and her ex-husband Andrew Parker Bowles was still alive. Thus, the couple ended up being married in a civil service, which was immediately followed by a church blessing of the marriage. It should be noted that Andrew Parker Bowles, a Roman Catholic, had obtained an annulment and remarried in 1996 to a woman he'd been having a long-term affair with.